sibling.
We okay back there? Okay, well, it's a minute after 9 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody, to the September 18th meeting of the Trustees of Trust Funds. I'm Chris Christensen, Chairman. To my right is,
Jack Balcom.
to my left,
Bill Wilkes.
and
And Tom Bolin, treasurer of the town of Maryland.
thank you all. First order of business is the approval of minutes of August 21st. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes of August 21st.
I second.
It's on, the green light's on. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a reflection.
Okay, and your motion was?
I move that we approve the minutes of August 21st.
And I will second that.
Okay. And I'll go along with it. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? 3-0-0. And correspondence. Our first item here is, I emailed it to everybody, so we don't have to pass out hard copies. But we have a bill for perpetual care from Last Rest Cemetery. And the total for, they still track it as Fund A and Fund B, which we don't do anymore, but anyway, came out to $11,759.19. I noticed that last year the cost per grave was $6.68. This year it was $6.61. So I guess we're heading in the right direction, but it all depends a lot on what the weather is and how many times they have to cut
Yeah,
the
they didn't have
grass.
to mow the grass as much
Right.
this year.
So do we have a motion relative to paying that bill?
I will motion we pay the invoice submitted by the Last Rest Cemetery for this year's expenses.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, abstentions, 3-0-0. I noticed, by the way, just as a kind of a recall, those bills always come in very late. That covers the period through December 31st, 2019. You know, practically through 2020, but they bill in the fall for whatever reasons. The other correspondence we have in short is Morningstar Investment newsletter. I have the September copy. Anybody want it?
Give it to Jack.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
I have July's, but you must have gotten August.
I think we missed August
Oh, we missed August?
because the
Here's July.
subscription ran out in May,
Oh,
and so this is the new.
this
think
turned
this-
out to be, if Bill wants that one, turns out to be the how to use the Morningstar.
Oh, speaking of which,
You gave us the link.
yes, I signed us
I looked
or
at it.
signed us back into the
I looked at it.
the website, which gives daily updates on various things and certainly weekly reports. So it's a little bit more timely than the monthly newsletter, but has different sets of information. It's probably worth taking a look at once in a while. Among all the other websites you have to check daily. And I think that's it as far as any correspondence. We had an email from Matt Chevenel talking about Chromebooks for the school system. They still are working on how many they need for which grades. They probably won't know anything until maybe later this month and order or do something, and it'll be a kind of a December evolution. So we'll see what happens, but right now they're looking at as many as 1,000 Chromebooks. So
1,000.
that's going to be a major project.
Well, they have new students coming in.
Well, usually you have some coming in, some coming out, and that's it.
Yeah. Do they
I don't know if it's a break even.
do they retrieve them or?
Well, they do retrieve them, but, I mean,
That sounds like a lot for our school. We
we
only
have
have,
1,000 people incapable of buying a Chromebook for their kid?
Well,
That's like 25%.
who knows? It's what?
That's about 25% of the school population.
I mean, if you give them out
Yeah.
like chiclets, they're gonna take them, right?
Yeah,
I certainly would.
yep.
But I think there may be a lot of people, I think more likely in the high school, that have their own piece of equipment. And it may not match what they're using for software and licensed agreements and so forth. So we'll find out more about that as we move on. Next thing on the agenda, do we have any progress on the audits?
I hope we have progress on the audits.
Because they've been here for 2 weeks.
There has not been any feedback relative to trust fund questions. They were out in mid-August, did their field work out here for a week. They said they were gonna come back, but they've not yet scheduled that. And last year they said the same thing, and they never did end up coming back. They just put together the report in their office, so.
Yeah, well,
At
I'm
this
happy with
point,
it.
There's no questions that need answering.
Yeah, usually they have some sort of questionnaire that we fill out, and
Yeah, I don't know.
it's
With
mostly,
New auditors as of last year, I can't remember if they did those questionnaires last year. I'm not sure that they did.
I can't remember either. What's the name of the audit firm this year?
Graham and, Graham and Graham.
Close
Their
enough.
name last year, they changed their name to Graham and Veroff this year.
Hmm.
New partner.
Because I had a similar thing, questionnaire from the MVD, and it wasn't the questionnaire of what are your procedures and how much education do you get for yourselves and all of that stuff. It was just, here's the MS9, sign off and say that you agree with the numbers.
Hmm.
So that was easy enough. So nothing new on that. Do we have anything on the portfolio?
Okay, I'd just like to make a comment, though. It just seems that the stock market equities are very volatile. Should we start focusing back again on high yield, long-term investments?
Well, I think that's a valid question.
What's the definition of high yield,
Okay,
long-term investments?
utilities, going into the energy or the, I guess, the utilities area where you have high yields and, everybody's gonna be paying their electric bill, so that the stocks, even clean water, those stocks like American Water Works, we made money on that, and then, I forget the name of the other stocks that we,
Well, we still hold a certain number of utilities, I think it's 7 or 8%.
7 or 8%,
of the
okay. Do we
portfolio.
wanna increase that?
From 2008 to 2016, something around that range. We had as much as 40% at one point.
I guess the question is, should we focus on income or growth at this point?
Well,
I think we've given Cambridge Trust kind of an idea of what our philosophy is and the direction we want them to go. I guess I'm not sure how much we want to force them to make changes unless we feel like there's some, very poor decisions that they've made.
Well, they've done a good job of squeaking out every last dollar out of the bond market. I mean, we're talking points, half a point, and
well, I interpret what you're saying as if we want to do more in fixed income. And I lump utilities into the fixed income thing because the dividends are so reliable, and traditionally they
right,
pretty much act like bonds anyway,
they do.
except in 2008 and following, because nobody else is paying dividends, the utilities had good growth as well. So I can see where that
Yeah.
might go. But we are normally scheduled to have a review in November.
Okay.
We could move that back to October if you want. And I guess everybody's near, at least if you watch television, saying, well, you know, we don't know what's gonna happen with the elections.
Right.
So, and I don't know how much that's gonna have an impact. There may be some more volatility in the month of October, just because of political situations rather than economic
Yeah.
situations.
There's gonna be a lot of money spent in October on the election.
Yeah.
We could tap into that somehow.
I'll tell you what, I'll call Cambridge Trust and see what their sense of direction is. We can bring it up again next month.
Well, maybe we should look at the portfolios and look carefully at each line item and, you know, say, hey, is this something that we think is good in the portfolio, or should we question it, or, I mean, if we see XYZ company that, you know, is not a dividend payer, that's, you know, something that we all think could be riskier or not prudent for us to hold, then we could ask Cambridge Trust about it and try to get their reasoning for having that in the portfolio. I mean,
Okay.
If we're really gonna do this, we should probably go down the list and say, why do we have that in the portfolio? Or, you know, instead of something like a utility company or, you know, maybe a bank stock or whatever. I mean, the bank stocks are pretty, you know, relatively low compared to a lot of other things. The energy stocks are relatively low compared to other things.
They are, yes.
Some of them have pretty good yields, like an Exxon that's selling for, I don't even know, $38 or $40 a share.
Yeah.
That was $80 a share last year. You know,
Yep.
is Exxon going broke? Are they not gonna be able to pay their dividend? You know, should we put some more Exxon in the portfolio? I don't remember if it was in the portfolio.
I think it still is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, should we dollar cost average on an Exxon, for example? JP Morgan, are they gonna go out of business? You know, should we be buying more JP Morgan, or, you know, I guess that would be my
Good
thought
point.
my thought process is, you know, that we should probably carefully review what's in the portfolios and maybe make a notch next to the ones that we're wondering, you know, do we have some biotech company, which I don't think we do, but do we have some oddball thing that is more speculative that we should be questioning Cambridge Trust on?
I
But I
agree.
guess that would be kind of my approach.
Well, I look at it the same way, and I've kind of gone through periodically, and I think part of what they're doing is a lot of sector balancing. And I think long-term, for a conservative approach, which is what we should be doing, that's a valid approach. So I'm not dissatisfied with what they're doing, but of course, we're always interested. And that's kind of our job. And if you want to move them back to October, I'm happy to do that. I don't know if it'll gain anything.
I don't know, I'm fine.
Leave them for November?
I would leave them for November, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
I mean, none of us, them included, have a crystal ball on what's gonna happen. I mean,
Well, I did a little bit. I remember last November, December, saying that, you know, I think around March, there's gonna be a lot of volatility.
You were
I
right.
didn't know it was gonna be like this.
you didn't know you were gonna have a pandemic to cause the volatility.
I like your comments on the energy sector. I think, yeah, I was just looking at buying some mobile Exxon for myself, ExxonMobil for myself, because it's way down, and there's only one way for it to go.
Yeah, I see a lot of
Yeah.
cars and everybody using fossil fuels still.
Well, they're into
For the Teslas.
yeah.
And Nikola.
They're actually into a
Next-
lot of other things.
Yeah, NextEra, by the way, is splitting their stock. I think it's 4-for-1 or something like that.
Yeah, they've grown a lot.
And we have
Uh,
NextEra in the portfolio.
Right.
Nextera?
Yeah,
Next
that's,
era used to be Florida Power and Light,
Oh, okay.
and they own Seabrook Station.
Do you know the code?
NextEra,
NEE.
NE?
and they also, I mean, if you look at them as a participant into alternative energy, they have quite a big program into wind and solar energy, which, you know, proportionally, it's pretty impressive what they're doing in that area. Again, it's a small percentage of their total overall business, but they do invest a lot into alternative energy.
Well, I
And
think,
it's very high priced at this, as of today, so I'm not proposing that it's a bargain.
well, their portfolio of energy sources is, I think, more varied than most of them. You know, we used to have, not so much in the last 5 or 6 years, but we used to have companies that were heavy into coal. And there were some of those that, they all survived. Public utilities don't go out of business. The job of the Utilities Commission is to keep them alive. But they had a lot of excess expenditures trying to worm their way out of the coal mines and into other sources to diversify a little bit. So that, as stodgy as that industry might be, there is some change there.
Just to clarify, there is no ExxonMobil in the portfolio anymore. They do have Chevron. Chevron seems to be their company of choice.
I think Chevron's dividend is a little bit bigger.
It says the yield is 6.15% on
Yeah.
Chevron, right?
6.15.
Well, the deal is if they were trading at 80 last year and they're trading at 40 now, and it's the same dividend,
Yeah,
your dividend went from 4
Oh,
to 6%.
that's right, yeah, that's all the numbers. You're right.
So,
Probably same with ExxonMobil.
okay, anything else on portfolio overall? We do need, we'll double check, but need to double check next time around on the cash reserves for the various capital reserve funds. I think we're good right now.
I mean, we have a ladder. The ladder is gonna get pretty skinny, I think, going forward as we have things mature, because replacing some of that stuff that we had in cash into something that actually earns some interest is gonna be very difficult. I mean, I think short-term stuff, if you're lucky to get 30 to 50 basis points at the most for short-term stuff. So our ladder, the money that we had invested in the ladder that, you know, we kind of keep as short-term is gonna earn considerably less going forward. I don't know how much we need to worry about that, but that's a fact.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about it too much because we don't have a lot of choices. Can't vary from the legally allowed investments, so we're kind of stuck there.
I mean, we probably lost 100 basis points on average, I would guess, by, 6 months out from now, compared to a year ago. We were getting
Oh, yeah,
1.5 to 2 on a lot of our short-term investments. We're probably gonna be, again, 50 basis points at the most. So, it's just a fact.
okay. Next item on the agenda is
Cloud storage.
cloud storage, yes. And again, this isn't meant to be a deep thing, but I'm just wondering if anybody has any, we talked last week about getting some cloud storage set up, putting the bequests on there so that anybody could reference those. I think putting the town meeting warrant articles that created the various capital reserve funds, having those up there for reference
Yeah. So-
would be worthwhile. I don't know if there's anything else you wanna have in there, or if we should just ask and say, how about putting this stuff up on the website? I'm sure we can create an extra page or two on the website for that stuff. You have any input on how the website gets updated, Tom?
I do not, I'm not sure who's involved in.
I know when you do minutes and agendas and stuff, Becky and Kristen pretty much
Yeah.
bring that up to date. But I don't know about creating new pages and so forth. And I don't know if you think putting stuff on the website is better than a cloud somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have a file on a cloud. I don't know how it gets accessed, what the security level is, you know. Is it just open, or do you have to have a password to do that, or?
Yeah, anything like that, you're gonna have to have, that's gonna be password.
So if we wanted to be available to the public, I think we'd have to have it on the website somehow.
Yeah.
And that could be a separate file on the website, I think.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I agree with you in the sense of those things that probably we're the only ones that ever really look at the documents. But if somebody were curious at some point in time and having it available to the public and having it available as trustees turn over, certainly, when I came on board, when you guys did too, I'm sure, there's a deep learning curve because you don't have the documents easily accessible or filed someplace, and it used to be in Dave's garage.
Yep. We had many meetings there.
All right, we'll continue to work on that, but those two things, I guess, are the big ones unless somebody thinks of something else. Okay. And upcoming meetings, October 23rd, November 20th. Thanksgiving is the 26th, very late this year.
Yep.
So,
I mean, tentatively, I'm okay with those two dates
Right.
at this point.
yeah, same here.
Yeah, I've already got those two blocked off.
What is this about? Is this something we already covered, school board Chromebooks?
We did.
Item D.
Covered it under correspondence.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I think that's about it.
Time for the annual reports already. Is that possible?
No, just to discuss the annual report.
Oh, okay,
We filed them last month.
okay.
One of the problems we had was, last year, we kept the 295 graves, or however many there are, from last rest in a separate spreadsheet. And as they filled in the spreadsheet, some of the formularies didn't come out correctly, so they had to go back and redo it, and we didn't pick up on that until July or August, when I was reviewing the format for next year, so, or for the end of this year. So they went back and corrected all of that stuff, and now have put those extra 300 odd lines into the program that's on the state-run portal. And if you go in there and try and find the information, it's next to impossible to find it, because it's all just merged in some sort of random fashion. It's not like everything is purely alphabetical the way it used to be. I mean, some of it's alphabetical within the format, but the format that the state set up for those reports, at least for me, is very difficult to track and trace. So the thought might have been that we should have some sort of a separate, report plan for the cemetery. And I have put feelers out to Cambridge Trust to see what their thought is. If they've changed it all over and they're happy with it, then we just need to learn how to read the other report. But certainly if you were a family member, or we give the report to the selectmen, town council, it's not easy for the average person to look at and read. Did you print those out, Tom?
I did print them out. I printed double-sided copies, 'cause the MS9 is 60 pages and the MS10 is 77 pages.
Yeah.
But I've got those.
And we used to have it on a spreadsheet, 2 pages.
Right.
Well, you can look that over at the end if you're done with it, Bill or Jack. I'll take it and put it in the archives, if you will.
I mean, it looks like a formatting, a lot of it's just like a data input type of form that they just regurgitate out, and they don't have it like in any kind of a matrix.
Right.
Well, there is an opportunity on the website, or within the portal, to pull it out as an Excel spreadsheet is one format. You can put it in a Word format. There's a, what is it, CSV or CSV?
Does not look like a paperwork reduction
No,
type of program.
no.
Next Era Energy, I don't see where does it tell you how many shares you have? Oh, this only says 15 shares here.
Depends on what
I'm just,
portfolio you're looking at, I guess.
15 shares, yeah, I guess it's. Anyways, we can look at those offline.
I think I sent you the
I think you,
password for that stuff. In fact, I used the same password for the one that I just sent you, and the Axion. So you should be able to access both of those.
is there any of this stuff that we're talking about right now that we need a tutorial on? Just to, like, should we have an offline demonstration of, like, these different websites and portals? And I mean, I don't personally go peruse them. I listen to what you guys tell me, and, you know, should we have a little training session?
I have a feeling that the municipal association will come up with something like that with their fall training session in November. I don't know if they're gonna do in-person training this year, or they're gonna do a webinar, or what. This is about the time, next month is about the time they start sending out the flyers on that. So I think it'll come up, and not a bad idea. I remember when we went to the last training session, somebody from DRA asked about it, and, you know, does everybody like the system? Dead silence. There was nobody that raised their hand. Everybody was very
Well, I was thinking if we
held
had,
back.
if we had a laptop sitting on this table right here, and yourself or Tom drove it and said, hey, this is how you do this, and this is how you do that, and I know it would be helpful to me. I don't know about you, Jack, how you feel about it.
Any kind of a review would be fine.
Well, I'll tell you what, some of it goes pretty easily. So if you log on to either the Morningstar site or the Axion portal, it's relatively simple. What they've come out with for the report format, especially on the printed page, is cumbersome, at least in my opinion. But you can see the stuff and see what the options are. Take a look at it first, and then give me a call and I'll sit down and, I'm not sure that I'm gonna be the best tutor in the world, but, we can kind of muddle through it and at least get the basic information. One of the problems I have with it is, we only use it once a year. Everything else we do comes to us in Excel spreadsheets, and we're all pretty familiar with all of those formats and triggers and so forth. So, for something that we use once a year, I'm not sure we need to be experts in it. I think it's a blessing that Cambridge Trust fills out those reports for us. That makes a big difference.
Totally agree.
Okay, I think that's it for agenda items. Does anybody else have anything else? Tom, anything?
Nope.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I motion, we adjourn,
I second the motion.
9:35.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned 9:35.